today is brought to you by
Number 10 liver salt from Ernest Chemists, because everyone needs a chemist.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Ahead in the bulletin, Ghana Health Service changes treatment protocols for COVID-19 as dynamics of case detection also alters. Meanwhile, health experts and clinicians call for a localized lockdown of areas recording cases for COVID-19. As of today, Ghana has recorded 339 new cases as the country's case count nears 13,000. Also, sectional areas of Tamale temporarily flooded as residents are cut off. Martina Bugri tells us the latest from the Northern Region capital. Now in business, Attorney General describes proposal by founder of Capital Bank, William Atuesian, to refund 27 million cedis to the state as totally unacceptable. I am Daniel Dazie. Let's settle for the details. Great to have you with us in our first story. Following the inundating of facilities in and around Kumasi with coronavirus cases, health authorities have started rehabilitation and expansion of hospitals in the greater Kumasi area. Ohiming of our health desk visited the Kumasi South Hospital to have a first-hand look on the state of works which has started so far.
Before COVID-19 came into existence, there were discussions that Kumasi South Hospital is already overstretched and now you have additional responsibility. How is your facility coping with this new trend?
COVID has become the center stage of treatment, the past 3-4 months. And so we had no option than to support the efforts of government, to see our brothers, to see our sisters. So yes, we are overstretched. The bosses, the Director General, the Regional Director himself are very much involved in their management. I must say that last Friday, the DG himself was here. Dr. Kumar Bwaji was here to assess the situation. And then together with the Regional Director of Health, we have been directed to do some expansion works so that we can accommodate a few more of the COVID-confirmed moderately ill cases. So that's how come we are expanding, we are doing this.
Now you have 2 more, or let me say more facilities to be used as treatment centers for COVID-19.
Yes, it's not magic, it's just management. What we had to do, like we said earlier, we have suspended some services. So what we did was to reassign the nurses and then the cases here to another site of the hospital, to the VIP ward, and then that's where those cases are being managed. And then we have, like you can see, converted the entire block to COVID management.
All right, so Dr. Bodi, can we go inside and see how work is ongoing?
Sure.
So
the whole area here are going to be, they are going to level the place, put some, so that access to the place becomes easy. We have a protocol for our treatment centers: the green area, the red area, the entry for staff, entry for patients, exit for staff, and so all these have been considered. So here you are with, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wards here. Six wards here. And then some of them can take 4 beds, some of them can take 3 beds. So all in all, we are looking at 19, 20 beds here. And I must say the regional health director has been very supportive. At least funds are being released from the regional health directorate and then also from national for this quick renovational work. we are hoping that by the end of Saturday, this place should be ready for, so that we can admit cases to this ward.
I see. So help us understand exactly the work that is left to be completed here at this new facility.
We have some basic work with plumbing work. We have some basic work with, I think it's actually, the soil has some amount of water. So as a few months after renovation, you see the water absorbing into the block again. And that is what the workman is doing. So all these places look like they have not been worked on before, but we have actually worked on this site. We are bringing COVID. We are bringing people from all over the region, and then we think that we have to up and then at least give them a more befitting area than it used to be. And National agreed, so they decided to, through the regional help, send us a little money. So we do this work, the plasterings, a few plumbing work, and then generally, like I said, the entry and then exit for staff, so that we don't contaminate ourselves in our bid to save the confirmed cases.
Now, Ghana's COVID-19 case count has moved up by 339, bringing the total number to 12,929 with 66 deaths. There are 8,395 active cases with 4,468 recoveries. There's concern the low level of compliance to the safety protocols. Now, Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah announced at today's briefing that the executive instruments to back the directive for the mandatory wearing of face masks is ready. This means you will face the law if caught without a face mask.
Over 230 tertiary institutions were programmed to reopen this week and were supported with PPEs and sanitary items by the government of Ghana after intense engagement between the universities and government. Government continues to observe the activities on campuses, even as we engage with other education cohorts on the reopening of other institutions in the senior high school category. As you recall, according to the program, they are expected to be next. We expect to make some more pronouncements to this effect by early next week, when the full observation or the full data is in on how this first cohort for final tertiary students has gone. So please expect some pronouncement on the next step of the reopening of schools. But already the feedback is that the schools have put in place commendable measures. The tertiary institutions have put in place commendable measures so far, and we continue to observe the situation on campus. Government also observes that several regional and district coordinating councils are stepping up their activities to ensure that the wearing masks is enforced across the country. The wearing masks, we are informed by the public health scientists, is a key way to prevent the spread of contaminated droplets from an infected person. It is effective if majority of the population comply with it. So government hereby reminds the regional and the district coordinating councils that have that are yet to kick in their compliance measures to go full throttle and ensure that there's compliance with the executive instrument that has now been issued to support the mandatory nature of the wearing of masks. We also implore citizens that it is our collective responsibility, it is in our collective interest as well, to wear the face masks when stepping outside of our homes. The wearing of masks, which is a complement, not a substitute, a complement to the other prevent etiquette, ensures that we protect each other from further community spread. We in particular reiterate our call to operators of public and private institutions, workplace managers, and persons responsible for the gathering of other persons to strictly ensure that physical distancing and the wearing of masks, in addition to the availability of hand washing or hand sanitizing logistics, are available.
Meanwhile, experts are calling for localized lockdowns in areas where cases have been reported to prevent the health system from being overwhelmed. Dr. Michael Owusu of KCCR told Roland Walker on the AM show this has become important.
Yes, Roland, I think that it's important that we really look at the strategy. And like my colleague Dr. Yok mentioned, if you look at the 66 deaths, 9 of these deaths are in people who don't have any underlying condition. This is what makes it scary. The news that is always in comorbid, people with comorbid conditions, the story is not exactly the same. So as young people who are even managing, handling, testing these viruses, you cannot predict how it will behave when you are infected. So it is more difficult. And there's what we call a force of epidemic. As if you have 10 people surrounding you who are all infected, you can put on all the masks you want to put on. The force of epidemic will catch up on you. And this is what is happening. As more people are becoming infected, your risk of exposure increases. So how do we deal with this? I mean, there are strategies to deal with this. They have the mitigation strategy and then the suppression strategy. When we started as a country, we applied the suppression strategy where you order restrictions, you close borders, you close social gathering, you make people sit home so that you can reduce movement, which is one of the major risk factors for infections. And then give some breathing space for the health sector. I mean, let people plan well, let people inject resources, expand your treatment centers, expand isolation centers, buy PPE, buy laboratory logistics, do all you can do. And then after that, you open up or ease restrictions whilst you you monitor the cases as they go by. With the way the cases are surging and with all the contributory factor and with the possible prediction that these cases are likely to double in the coming weeks and the deaths are likely to increase, the mitigation measures are in place, wearing of nose masks, which is mandatory and all that. This is fairly good. But then if everybody wears nose masks, you can cut the virus growth by just about 50%. That one will not be enough to reduce pressure at the health facility. If you want to succeed in crashing the epidemic curve, then you will have to go by what China and others did earlier. You have to impose or order another form of restriction, which will restrict movement, so that as people move, they just stay home. And once they stay home, it gives you some breathing space to manage the few people that come to your health facility. So that at least the health workers will also have a breathing space, because as more of them are becoming infected and are getting out of the facility, it will come to a point where they will empty the place. But then as people are being infected and moving, 2 or 3 times of their numbers are still moving and also infecting. I mean, I know people who are positive, who are supposed to undergo self-isolation, but they decide that they have to go to work because they have to work for their employers. But then if a restriction is ordered and everybody knows that we have to stay home, they will be forced to stay home. And when they stay home, you can have some time, some breathing space to re-inject resources in your health sector, to expand your treatment centers again, to buy all the logistics, to plan properly, and then you can deal with the cases again. So it's not out of place to restrict movement.
Dr. Owusu, what are you saying? You are saying we should reimpose lockdown?
How will you reduce pressure at the healthcare facilities? What is the option? One is to expand the isolation units, expand the treatment units. But you have time to do this. We can do that. But the virus is running ahead of us. So if you have a virus running ahead of you and is moving at a very faster rate, you need a breathing space and a time to do that. And this is why I earlier said that a form of a localized lockdown is appropriate now.
I mean, it is good news to have a confirmation. I call it a confirmation because I have been involved in managing COVID patients, and I can tell you for a fact that I can, at least for Kolebu Teaching Hospital, we've been using, it comes under a broad category of medications called steroids. And we've been using steroids for moderate to severe cases, those needing RTUK. And what we found that it restricts or improves the the cytokine storm. That leads to some of these bad outcomes. So we know that it works somehow, but this has come to confirm that indeed it may be useful, and therefore we should continue what we're doing. and what you are doing is right, you need that confirmation in scientific circles. But remember what Dr. also said, it is not for you to go and purchase. You did that to ibuprofen and chloroquine. It became short in the market. People started popping it left, right, center. It has side effects. It may be toxic if you not use the right way. Steroids can cause all sorts of problems. It can even paradoxically, remember, reduce your immunity and even increase your risk of getting COVID infection in the first place. So it has to be used under supervised condition by a trained healthcare practitioner under the right, conditions. It can lead to diabetes, it can lead to hypertension. Again, as I said, it can suppress your immunity and a whole lot. So yes, it has come as good news and we are happy. What has to be done is also to probably set up our own protocol to see whether it works to the same extent as it is found somewhere, and so that we can continue to use this safely for the benefit of our cohort that we have in this country.
But we run the risk of people going over the counter to have a purchase and use.
Oh, certainly, and I don't hope and pray. I do hope and pray that no celebrity like we had, in the past with respect to that people will come and endorse it and encourage people to buy it. Texas is a cheap drug. It's persuasive to see this. There's no need, to rush for it. You get it anytime when it's appropriate, prescribed by a healthcare practitioner. And at this stage, I will implore all the pharmacy outlets and chemical shops not to be dishing out dexamethasone and other steroid medication without prescription, and because they will have to serve as a gatekeeper in protecting the public in this regard. Otherwise, it may lead to untoward consequences that we may have to add on to already bad situation that we find ourselves now.
Now, still on the subject, Ghana will have a full-blown health crisis in 2 weeks if drastic measures are not taken immediately. This means hospitals are likely to be overrun, leading to a much higher number of deaths if government does not act swiftly. The disturbing projection was made by health experts on Prime Morning on Joy Prime TV today. Here's health fellow with the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Kwame Sapon-Isiedu, and president of the Ghana Association of Doctors in Residency, Dr. Bernard Hammond.
2 weeks to the point where this ripple effect of the hospitals being full at the moment would move from being full to overflowing. And that is when we would start having problems, because then those people would start going into the community and quality of care would be affected further. And that is what I'm talking of. And so all through this, I have shied away from the mortality conversation, because mortality is a net effect of all these failings. And I still believe we can keep our mortalities low if we can reverse these insidious problems we are having. And that's why I say we have 2 weeks to do that. If we don't do that in 2 weeks, then we have issues coming up.
Those issues will be more people dying.
More people being unwell, more people getting infected. And if that happens, it means more people with comorbidities or unknown comorbidities will be infected, which would make the disease prognosis poorer. And yes, mortality would start going up.
What is happening on the ground now, from what Dr. Atenkwan was saying yesterday, you have the treatment and isolation centers being full. So unless we step out and do something extra, i.e. what I proposed, get a particular place to take care of these those unstable patients, the critically ill patients. Now, also, the public education is so crucial. Yesterday, he made a very disparaging. I was shocked. People in Kumasi, in the marketplaces, and all that, they are not wearing face masks. It should be enforced. And the hand hygiene, social distancing protocols, we should push it. It should be enforced. And also look at the PPEs. As he said, 2 weeks is enough time. We can turn things around when we now start being proactive. Instead of waiting for it to hit us, then we'll start scrambling. What can we do? What can we do?
Now, they also said the disturbing rise in number of cases in the Ashanti region can be attributed to the lower quality of care in that part of the country.
Most likely be quality of care because of the relatively high COVID cases to doctor ratio. And the fact that if you heard Dr. Hammond, he was saying that a lot of the facilities do not have the specialist critical care capabilities that Komfanoche has. So those two things are an issue if Komfanoche doesn't have enough beds. Because I did say last Monday that for every part of the world, this disease has shown that between 5 and 10% of all their cases would require some high level of care, out of which about 2 to 3% would require serious critical care. So if you're looking at Ashanti's 2,300 cases,
right,
you should expect that around 200 of them would require some form of care.
I think as clinicians, we should look at interrogating the fact that it could be from the quality of care. I mean, it stops nothing so that we can improve it. So I think it's a good premise to start from. Let's assume that everyone, that the younger folk that are dying without any documented comorbidities are dying because there is a drop in the quality of care, and we'll take steps to improve it. I think that will go a long way to just help the cases instead of being defensive about it and trying to fish out for comorbidities where there may be none. It will just go a long way to just muddy the waters.
Now, some 224 Ghanaians stranded in the UK have successfully returned home through a special arrangement dubbed Operation Return Home. All returnees have since gone into mandatory quarantine at various hotels they booked before arriving in the country Wednesday evening. Latif Idris was at the Kotoka International Airport and has come through with the following report.
Operation Return Home is still ongoing in Ghana. Ghanaians stranded abroad who are willing and ready to return home amidst the coronavirus pandemic are being evacuated from various countries across the globe. Latest are some 224 Ghanaians who touched down at Terminal 3 of the Kotoka International Airport from the United Kingdom. In all, we are looking at some 108 males and 103 females. We have also 9 infants and then 4 children. So, we are looking at 224 people returning from the UK today. This is the first batch of returnees from the United Kingdom. On Sunday, it is expected that a second batch, which will be the final batch of returnees from UK, would also touch down here in Ghana. We know the UK at a point was the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic in Europe. Even though cases there have now improved, there are still more cases of coronavirus in that country, and people living there are still battling with the virus. These people, we understand, have already booked their accommodation, and so right after the screening, which is ongoing here at Terminal 3, all of them will be taken to their various hotels to be quarantined for not less than 14 days, after which another test will be conducted, and if you then test negative, you are then properly reintegrated into society. But for now, right after the screening, which is ongoing, all of them will be taken to their various centers, various hotels they've already booked. We know when this whole campaign started, government was taking up the bills. But this time around, if you are ready to come back home, you must be in the position to book for your own accommodation where you self-quarantine for the 14 days. From the Terminal 3 of the Kotoka International Airport, this is Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
Now, the governing New Patriotic Party NPP will on Saturday, June 20, 2020, acclaim the sole candidate who filed his nomination to contest, on June 27, will acclaim the sole candidates who filed his nomination to contest in the 2020 presidential primaries, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as the party's presidential candidates. Now, the acclamation of the presidential candidates together with his running mate will be done at a special National Council meeting of the party to be held in Accra with the media and relevant stakeholders in attendance. Now, the party equally resolved to hold parliamentary primaries in Gushegu, Doma Central and Kwadaso constituencies in line with the decision of the party's National Executive Committee as follows. So with Gushegu constituency, the party, after extensive consultation with relevant stakeholders, has, in line with Article 12 of the NPP's constitution, selected Mr. Hassan Tampuli as its parliamentary candidate for the constituency. This follows the decision of the two aspiring candidates, Honorable Idi Ziblim and Osman Mahama, to withdraw from the parliamentary contest. In the Doma constituency, the incumbent Member of Parliament and Minister for Health, Kweku Ajimaimenu, shall contest in the primaries as an unopposed candidate, following the decision of his sole contender, Dr. Yao Yeboah, to withdraw from the contest after the implementation of a successful roadmap. Primaries in the Kwadraso constituency shall be held on Wednesday, June 24, 2020, following an amicable resolution of the issues regarding the constituency album. Now, the party wishes to use this occasion to commend all the aspiring candidates who graciously withdrew from the contest and respected the party's decision. Now, this was contained in a statement signed by the party's General Secretary, John Boydu. It's live on Joy News today with me, Daniel David. Now, there's a lot more coming up in the bulletin. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Take a tour through Ghana's fastest growing online portal, www.adumonline.com, for local and international news, business, entertainment, politics, lifestyle, sports, and more. Watch the most intriguing YouTube videos on demand and live streaming of Adum TV, Ghana's #1 television station. Listen to live radio and podcast of all your favorite Adum FM programs, no matter your location and time. AdumOnline.com is an audio, photos, and video focused website. We break the news as and when it happens. AdumOnline.com is on web and app, making it easy to visit via phone, tablet, and desktop. AdumOnline.com, Ghana's most comprehensive news portal.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, hours of heavy rain led to flooding in parts of the Tamale metropolis, with residents of Taha, Balai, among others, cut off temporarily from the rest of the regional capital. Now, with a dilapidated bridge that links these communities badly in need of replacement, residents are worried the onset of rains could see more flooding situations in the coming months. A resident, Imoro Ahmed Ibrahim, said the situation has been so for the past years since he moved into the area. Martina Bugri reports that residents spoken to said efforts to get the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly to fix the problem has yielded no results.
This has been the situation. Flooding. Anytime it rains heavily, it overflows and then cars and motors cannot cross. During school days, sometimes children will not go to school because their parents cannot take them to school. Yeah.
This morning there was a heavy downpour. How did you cross?
Well, I had to fold up my trousers, then lift my legs onto my motorbike with the direction of some residents who will direct you where to pass and not to fall into a pothole. You are able to manage, but cars cannot do that. So that is the problem now we are facing.
It is very terrible this morning. And because of that, anytime there is a rainfall, people suffer this. We have been counting on the leadership to come on board to help, but all to no avail.
Now, Martina has joined us via Zoom to tell us a bit more about this situation. Martina, help us understand the extent of the damage. How wide and how large an area was affected?
Now, how the place is a bit narrow. As we speak now, any vehicle that is big will not be able to cross either to Taha area or to the Tamale town center. The road is such that There are 2 culverts they have made, and they are so narrow, and so when the water comes, it floods the whole area. It started chopping parts of the road, and currently as we speak, the whole road is almost chopped off. Yesterday's downpour has heightened the distraction, and so you go there now, people would have to guide you. Earlier in the morning, people had to guide you eventually to be able to cross to the other side of the city.
So how are people able to go about their working activities? Do we have people stuck on one side? What's the impact on the average residents there?
Currently, the water has seeded, and so it's a bit down. Initially in the morning, it was so heavy that most people had to stay back home. And so people started going to work after 9 o'clock. Any other person who had to leave earlier than this time would have to either get the boys who were on the roadside to eventually hold you through to the water, because they know where the portion that is destroyed. And so they will need to hold you through that process to be able to cross. But those who didn't have the courage to risk had to go back to their various homes and wait till the water ceded.
So have we heard from the authorities? We heard some of the residents mention that this has been an age-old problem.
Yes, I spoke to the municipality executive this afternoon, and she says that a team of engineers from the urban roads will be visiting there today to assess the situation and then get back to her. Then they'll see the action they will take from there.
But excuse me, Martina, did she give any clarity that this is a problem that has been budgeted for and has been on their books for a while?
No, she didn't give that detail. All she said was that they would need to inspect the bridge today, and then they'll get back to her, then they can see what they would put together. Now, I must say that this is a very important route because of what it does for the metropolis and the Sanergo and Tamale metropolis. All the waste, both solid and liquid, would have to pass through this road to the landfill site. And so if this road is cut off in the coming days, you can imagine the disaster that will loom in the metropolis, because waste cannot be sent to the landfill site to be deposited.
Wow, I can imagine. I'm sure that some of these big trucks would have had to move there. My concern, Martina, is from what the residents are saying, that this is an age-old challenge and they expected that something should have been done by now. Are the municipal executives saying that they were not aware that this bridge was problematic?
They are aware it is problematic. Currently, there's a contractor on the road. But as to whether that bridge is part of the contract, that we don't know yet. But we know that they are aware of this particular problem, because the flooding that happened 3 years ago, where the woman died around the Gariba Lodge area, during the inspections, they came to this particular bridge where the water exits through to Jakara Hilly, and they assessed it and inspected it. And so one would have thought that by now something new would have happened on that stretch, but it's still the same.
Martina, thank you very much for giving us those updates. Martina Bugri reports for us from the Northern region. Now, Attorney General, the Attorney General has described a proposal by the founder of Capital Bank, William Atwesian, to refund 27 million cedis to the state as totally unacceptable. That's the top story in business. Coming up next.
am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter.
Going behind the glossy headlines to set the tough news agenda, listening to all sides of the story. Your stories, our stories, of people and of places.
We feel like we are not part of Ghanaians.
I'm very, very lost.
Now, you go school, you poly. You keen, but me too much. Politicians need change padlock.
Focusing on events that affect lives.
We are slowly poisoning our consumers, and that is the reality.
Change of lesson, please.
And these are children who never had a shot at education.
They said this work is not meant for women.
The last stop, which is the castration.
Stimulating content that reveals our diversity.
How life emerged from a sequence of activities.
The diversity of perspectives and minds.
In Christianity, you cannot say that you are taking tithe.
Tithe belongs to God, belongs to your local assembly.
We bring topics to light that often go underreported, reporting the issues through direct and fearless journalism. Hotline, telling compelling stories, changing the status quo.
Hotline is brought to you by
Melco, where Ghana shops.
I am the contact that helps you navigate your community.
We found a way in.
Whew. The rural, the suburban, the urban. Focusing on the intriguing social, spiritual, and
Now in business, the Attorney General has described a proposal by founder of Capital Bank, William Atwesian, to refund 27 million Ghana cedis to the state as totally unacceptable. The state has meanwhile pressed 3 new charges against the founder of Unibank, Dr. Kwabena Dufo, bringing charges up to 71 from an initial 68. Joining us via Zoom is Joseph Akable with the latest. Now, Joe, do we know why the state believes the terms are unfavorable?
Daniel, we don't know the specific details, the reason behind the state's decision to describe it as unacceptable, but we know what the terms of that agreement was. The first was that they were supposed to pay an amount of 27.5 million cedis. He also had indicated he had already paid some 1.4 million cedis to the state, and then some cars, more than 10 of them, which he said he had brought into the country that was in the custody of the Economic and Organized Crime Office. And so that was part of the proposal that was presented. But Chief State Attorney Marina Apia Opari informed the court that that proposal is totally unacceptable. The state didn't like the terms of it, and so the state has rejected it. And we understand that Mr. Essien has since immediately submitted fresh proposal to the state for consideration. Daniel.
Do we know the details of that fresh proposal?
We don't know what the specifics are, but we understand that it's quite an improvement in terms of the terms that has been presented. And again, the state is making the point that it doesn't want the trial to be delayed as a result of negotiations with Mr. Essien, because the charges involved, there are 26 charges. There are 3 others who are standing trial with him. And the negotiations relate to just 4 of the charges against Mr. Essien. And so the Chief State Attorney informed the court that, if at the next date, which is July 9, they are unable to reach an agreement with him, the state is ready to proceed with the case. If they've even reached an agreement, they will be willing to proceed with the case. And so for now, the state will be considering the new agreement and will give the court a response on July 9 as to whether or not it has accepted the new proposal from Mr. Essien to refund some 27.5 million cedis to the state. We understand the state needs to understand in specific terms the period of repayment, need to have some assurances relating to the mode of repayment, among other things. And once those things are clarified, it should be good enough for the state to accept and proceed.
So if I'm to understand you well, Joseph, the amount will not change. It's just the mode of payment.
The amount is not changing. It's just the mode of payment and how swift it will be. They understand that it has to be of a nature that the state can be sure that it's getting its money back. And so that is what is in contention now.
Thanks, Joe. Now, related to this case is the Unibank one. New charges have been filed by the prosecution. Do we know what these charges are?
The 3 new charges relate to falsification of documents. You understand the accounts of Unibank, some documents relating to it were falsified, which you understand again raises an issue of defrauding. And so those are the 3 new issues that the state prosecutors have brought to the court. And so they asked that the judge strikes out the old charge sheet and accepts the new one. And so that was granted by Justice Bright Mensah, who accepted that. And the accused persons were made to once again state their plea. All of them again pleaded not guilty to the charges against them. And so with that particular case, to the court has adjourned proceedings to the 16th of July for case management conference.
So will this in any way delay the initial case?
If not for the replacing of the charge sheet, it would have meant that the agenda for today would obviously have been at the start of trial, because the AG has been able to carry out the disclosure. They've made available all the evidence and in the form of documents that they intend to use against the accused persons. But once this was carried out, the substitution was done, the court had to take some time off for proceedings to commence fully on July 16.
But did the AG, Joseph, give us any reason for waiting till now to add these charges?
We understand that it's in the course of doing the disclosures and putting together the documents, those are fresh facts that came to the knowledge of the state. The state says it doesn't change its case substantially since the facts support it, but it felt that those additional charges are in terms of crimes that they think have been committed, and they need to add those crimes onto the crimes that they've already leveled against them.
Thank you, Joseph, for bringing us those updates. Joseph Akable goes to court for us here at Joy, and that brings us to the end of business. Up next is sports. So live on Joy News today. Before we do anything else, let's bring you this story. Staff of Pantang Hospital have withdrawn service over failure of government to address encroachment and safety concerns. Now, the staff of the hospital here in Accra have embarked on a total strike, laying down their tools and attending only to cases in the wards. Now, new patients to the facility are being turned away as the workers begin another phase of their protest over encroachment and safety concerns. The staff last week began a sit-down strike, outlining a roadmap to follow if their concerns remain unresolved. But among others, the staff say the activities of land guards on a parcel of land amidst sporadic gunshots and rampant robberies and attacks on some workers remain issues that put their safety under threat. According to the staff, they have raised these issues since 2017, and several assurances by the Health Ministry and municipal authorities have remained unfulfilled. Pantang local rep of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Alex Ansowusu, tells Joy News they have had to take the measure to compel authorities to address their issues. He said for 3 years, the authorities have been talking, and this time they want to see action. He insists their lives are at risk, and so they cannot work under these conditions. Right, we'll bring you more on this story in later bulletins. However, we can now hear Dr. Ansowusu.
Just as we indicated in the roadmap, we are starting the complete strike today. As you can see, all the OPDs are locked with red bands all over. The medical OPD, the maternity, the psychiatric OPD, the oral health unit, everywhere is locked, and we are not seeing any patient. The only people we are seeing now are the clients on the wards. We are hoping it doesn't get there, but if we are pushed to it, we will have to withdraw services to those on the wards too. It appears our leaders are completely listless, apathetic. They aren't concerned about what is happening, because you can't wait for all this period. We said the first letter went on the 22nd of May. Here we are, 18th of June, and nothing has happened. 3 years ago, this started. They told us that they were going to reacquire the land. We have all this on video. When the Minister of Health came, spoke to us nicely, Honorable Ajimamenu, that we're going to reacquire the land. Government has interest in the land and our safety as well. But here we are, nothing has changed. It's been 3 years, so no one can tell us to keep waiting. And when we went to the ministry, we made it very clear that Our members, we are union heads. We represent a union. We are not on our own. Our members want to see action. They don't want us to come telling them that, okay, so they should go back to work. They want to see for themselves that the wall is being built up. There are security. We ask for a permanent police post or military post so that we can be sure of security. There are so many land guards, quarters, everyone moving in here and there. And to make matters worse, yesterday at the management meeting, it came up that there have been police protecting these people building on the land over there. So we went there with one of our new vans, management members and the union heads, and it was such an eyesore. The confrontation that went on between the police and us is nothing to write home about. They went to the extent of putting blocks around our cars that they won't even let us move. And that if you know who have moved them, who have asked them to come there, and they've given them the order that if anyone comes and misbehaves, they should lock the people up. And this is what they told hospital management, the director and all the union heads that were present. They spoke with so much confidence and surety. They didn't care who we were going to call because they claimed they had a strong force backing them. And this is not the first time. Various people building over there has told union members, union heads, that the force backing them is strong. So we are wasting our time and we are not going to achieve anything with all that we are doing. If they won't protect the land, fine. But before we work, we must get some level of safety. Then we can resume work. We won't settle for work.
Still live on Joy News today. Expect more in this particular story in later bulletins, but we'll be back with more. And Oreku joins us from home to bring us a sports segment. But Oreku, before we say anything, I should be calling you a prophet for properly predicting a walloping of Arsenal FC last night in that opening EPL game.
Certainly, Daniel. It had to be. If you look at the record between the two sides, Arsenal themselves had not won away against a top 6 side in 5 years. It was certainly a mountain impossible to climb, one which they couldn't climb. So Arsenal, they're losing by 3-0. But in terms of stories that we do have for you today, we started from the local scene, and board chairman of Heart of Oak, Toby Afede, the 14th, has revealed that the club intends to appoint a director of football to model the Ghanaian Giants with the modern trends of the game. Now, the Phobians are poised to enter into a new phase of administration with several innovations, including the start of the Pobiman project. According to Toby Afede, the 14th, management of the club want to build a team capable of competing with giants such as TP Mazembe and El Ahly. He was quoted saying that we are therefore putting in good administrative structures at the very top of the pinnacle. And this is also to be trickled down to the technical team and playing body as we seek to assemble the best materials possible to accomplish this task. He added, a director of football will be soon appointed to spearhead the technical directorship of the club and the recent recruitment of some players to beef up the team also in all directions. Now, let's note that the Phobians have not won any major trophy since winning the league in the 2007-2008 season. So certainly there is work to be done for Heart of Oak. But in terms of international news, this news that will bring a huge smile to the faces of Chelsea fans, because after weeks of negotiation, we did have a hint, but Chelsea finally agreed to sign Timo Werner from RB Leipzig on a 5-year deal. Now, the forward, who is age 24, has agreed personal terms with the Blues and is subject to a medical and will join in July after the German league season ends. Werner, who joined Leipzig from Stuttgart in 2016, has scored 32 goals in all competitions this season. And Werner, he's known for his pace and can also play as a winger. He thanked the club and fans, saying that they would always be in his heart. His July move also would be confirmed, and that would mean that he would not be representing Leipzig in the Champions League. Let's now hear from the new Chelsea striker.
So we have to apologize. We are unable to bring you that insert there. But Oreko, how much is Werner going to change the Chelsea game?
I think he adds a different dimension to Frank Lampard's side. If you look at options available to him as of now, it would be Tammy Abraham, Olivier Giroud, and then Michy Batshuayi, who's out of favour at Stamford Bridge. So in terms of, if you look at Abraham and Giroud, they're both target forwards who like to receive the ball to feet and don't necessarily have the pace to run in behind defences. Although Abraham tries that sometimes, he might be better at that than Olivier Giroud. But I think that Werner is a master when it comes to running in behind. He holds the ball really well and can create chances out of nothing. And there is that extra incentive that comes with him because he can also play as a winger and a striker. So certainly he's going to help Frank Lampard. And Lampard himself has stated that he might explore the possibility of playing him up top with Tammy Abraham.
At this moment, we'll take world news next. Let's take some world news now before we go. Now, in the face of a deteriorating economic situation, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has opted to ease lockdown restrictions further, even though coronavirus cases are beginning to rise rapidly. In the past week alone, the number has increased by 37%. But in a frank address to the nation, the president highlighted the need to preserve the people's livelihoods. As a result, he said that part of the leisure industry will reopen soon. Still live on Joy News today, and the Trump administration is making a last-ditch effort to stop the publication of a damaging new book by a former national security advisor. Among several allegations, John Bolton says Donald Trump pleaded for help from China to win the re-election in 2020. The Justice Department has filed an emergency order seeking to block the release on national security grounds. Constitutional experts say the move is unlikely to succeed, and US media have already published extracts. The new work, The Room Where It Happened, is due on sale on 23rd June. In it, John Bolton paints a picture of a president whose decision-making was dominated by a desire to win the presidency again. And this is where we end this bulletin of Joy News today. My name is Daniel Dazi. Many thanks for joining us. Up next is The Marketplace. We'll be back tomorrow.